Hello everybody, I am Alex, also known as Solinus Dracone, and welcome back to my Pern Primer series part 6. Today we're going to talk about another of the major political powers on Pern, the crafthalls. Since the settlers had come with the express intent in the first place of founding an agrarian society, then it was pretty much inevitable that they would turn to some of the older crafts. People still needed things, and these things had to come from other people who understood these things and could be in charge of maintaining the development of ideas and technology on said things. At the beginning of the 9th Pass, there are 10 active craft halls on Pern. They are the Harper Hall, the Healer Hall, the Smithcraft Hall, the Minecraft Hall, the Beastcraft Hall, the Farmer Hall, the Vintner Hall, the Fishercraft Hall, the Weavercraft Hall, and the Tannercraft Hall, each the collegiate institutions of their respective crafts. These halls can be divided into two categories. Academic halls, where their entire subject is contained within the hall, and there's almost no need for their practitioners to spread out across Pern, and itinerant halls, where specialists are trained and then sent out across Pern to the holds and weirs to serve a specific function. The Harper Hall, an itinerant hall, is located at Fort Hold, and is of course where the musicians are trained on Pern. This may sound like a simple sort of thing that is optional, but the Harper Hall is arguably one of the most important on the planet. Firstly, music is the primary form of entertainment on Pern. They didn't bring the stuff to create video games or TV or anything with, so literally the only way for them to have good clean fun is to sing and dance. Pern is an incredibly musically inclined society, and someone who can't sing or plays an instrument like shit will not be tolerated trying to sing or play. Harpers are also the teachers on Pern. It was decided early on that learning by song is a very effective way of learning, so that is yet another of their duties. But it doesn't stop there. Harpers are also arbiters. I'm gonna let you in on a little factoid. Pern is an entirely secular society. The idea of God just simply doesn't exist there. They lost track of it when the settlers first landed, and it was never passed on to their children, so there's simply no religion, no church, no presence of a centralized philosophy and theology structure. For that reason, Harpers act in a lot of ways like priests in our society would. They mediate arguments, they sway the mood of the populace. Harpers are trusted because their craft puts them above greed and deceit. They are the ones who teach the children. They are the ones who lift the spirit with song. These are the people you look at in society and say, yep, they'll fix the problem without bias. Harpers are also sort of the information network on Pern. As there's a Harper in every hold and weir, then if anything happens on Pern, a Harper's heard about it. Hell, the lords of the holds often ask their Harpers for advice. The information gets passed back to the Harper Hall and back out into the wider world. The master of the hall can then make a decision on who else's ears the data makes it to, and what songs for their harpers to start singing in order to shift the general mood of the populace. Harpers are incredibly influential upon Pern, and for this reason, it's appropriate to think of them like they're the church in this society, because they fill the same niche role. Because of the importance of information to the Harper Hall, they will often employ people who have absolutely no musical talent, simply because they're very good at blending in and gathering information, or other things of a much more spy-like nature. I have a lot to say about Harpers, because of all the crafts, they are the most written about in the books. Anne McCaffrey had a deep interest in the musical arts apparently, because the series' most popular character was named after a musical instructor from her past. Harpers are so ubiquitous, and so much time is spent on the grounds of the Harper Hall, that of course I'm going to put a lot of focus on it. It's something the author herself put a ton of focus on, and so because the purpose behind my primer series is to help you get into the mood and mindset of Pern before reading the books, it's imperative that I explain how significant this aspect of their culture is. But it's time to move on to the other halls, because they're all important too. The Healer Hall is located at Fort Hold as well. It's actually located inside the same building as the Harper Hall. There, the healers of Pern are trained. Pretty self-explanatory. You don't need me to tell you what a healer does. Obviously, it's an itinerant hall. Let's move on. The Smith Craft Hall is located at Telgar. This one's a bit of an important one too. Naturally, all the halls on Pern are going to need doohickeys and gadgets and shovels, hose, rakes, flamethrowers. Yes, flamethrowers. On a world where an all-devouring organism falls upon the populace and fields, do you think they're not going to have flamethrowers? If it's got anything to do with tools and hardware, it happens at the Smithcraft Hall. There will generally be smiths assigned to various and sundry holds because things are going to need fixing all over the world, so it is an itinerant hall. The Minecraft Hall is located at Crom. Originally it was at Telgar, but when they mined out all the resources Telgar had to offer, they specifically moved to Crom. This is one of the rare situations that the creation of a hall was the determining factor for the location of a hold. The Minecraft Hall trains up miners, who either dig in the ore-rich mountains of Crom or go elsewhere on Pern to mine any other promising subterranean resources. Because of this, it's quite common for miners not to live within holds as much as in their own camps, which sort of become miner holds in their own right. Because of this, I have to draw the conclusion that this is a mix between itinerant and academic. The Beastcraft Hall is located at Karoon. This is the hall which concerns itself with livestock. Cattle, sheep, horses, domesticated wherries, we'll get more into wherries later, and anything which is a domesticated animal is studied and managed at the Beastcraft Hall. I'm going to say this one is an itinerant because while all the holds manage their own livestock as well as their own lands, they still need someone to serve the role of a veterinarian. The Farmer Hall is located in Nerat. These are the people who focus upon the cultivation of the land. As most of the holds manage their own crops, and the people who live on the land are doing the farming, I have to assume that the only thing that happens in the Farmer Hall is new discoveries in fertilizer and agriculture, suggesting it is a more academic of a hall. The Vintner Hall is sort of an odd one. Technically, it's at Bandon, but it's also at Tillek. Definitely an academic hall, because you don't need people to go to the holds individually and make wine. Wine is made at either Tillek or Bandon and is sent around Pern as a trade good. As I said before, Bandon wine is considered to be the superior wine. If you know anything about winemaking, the soil makes a huge difference in how the taste of the wine comes out, and the Tillek soil is acidic enough to make their wines tend to be rather harsh and sour, and so it's probably their discount wine. But cheap wine is still wine, so Tillek vintages are probably drank by more people on Pern, while Bandon vintages are generally purchased only by the affluent. The Fishercraft Hall is located at Tillek. Now, I'm not entirely clear on whether or not they are also actually the people who make the boats, as this particular aspect of things might be something that specialized smiths do. But they're definitely the people who sail the boats. There's a lot of coastland on Pern, and fishing makes up a huge portion of the incoming food, especially during a pass when farming is a little dodgy. A hold can be a sea hold, and the holder there can definitely be a sea captain, but a boat is an expensive and valuable thing, so I can't imagine there's anyone allowed on Pern to captain a boat who hasn't been properly trained up to the standards of the craft. So I'm going to call this one an itinerant hall. The Weavercraft Hall, located at Southern Bowl, are the ones who make the fabrics on Pern. Because their practitioners need to be where the raw materials for fabric can be found, such as cotton or wool, then I would like to say they're itinerant, but it can also be an academic label too. Like the Vintner Hall, they make a product and they sell the product, and it gets traded around Pern. Individual holds probably have very little use for a weaver on premises, because they either buy the product or they make it themselves if they know how. I'll give this one the academic tag overall. You're welcome to argue with me about it. Finally, the Tannercraft Hall. Another one of those which it's hard to put a label on, but I'll call it academic. Tanners make the leather. Because of this, it's a good idea for them to have representatives around Pern where the livestock are, but the main craft hall is located in Egan, which is a flipping desert, so I guess they just get the hides and trade. In any case, I'm slapping the academic tag on this one and calling it a day. So those are the major craft halls which are present at the start of the 9th Pass. While they each have differing functions and spread, They all follow the traditional old apprentice journeyman master system that defined trades on Earth up until the Industrial Revolution changed everything. An apprentice is literally a newbie in the craft. They have an interest or a talent in it, or their papa was one, or something else, so they've decided to make this craft their life's work. Apprentices are generally trained by masters in the craft, who are either located at the specific hold where this youngster was spotted, or they've been brought back to the main craft hall to be taught there, depending on the craft. An apprentice has absolutely no rank whatsoever. As far as the world is concerned, they are simply a child who is learning something. If a kid runs off to join a craft hall, then their parents or legal guardians do technically have the right to snatch that kid back. A journeyman is someone who has graduated from the tutelage of a master and is ready to be assigned to a hold or weir to do their job there. They are the functioning, active members of the craft and make up the bulk of each craft members. Sometimes, quite often, a journeyman will assist with the basic teaching of their craft to a potential apprentice, but no training that the apprentice receives is considered official unless done by a master, so a journeyman will often get the apprentice to just enough of a point that they can pass them off to a master for more proper teaching. Once someone has achieved the rank of journeyman, then the desires of their parents or legal guardians don't matter anymore. They're an adult now in the eyes of Pern, and they have a full adult's rights. A master is someone who is well trained and well practiced in the craft. Think of it just like obtaining a master's degree here in our modern day. You cannot take a job teaching something unless you have a master's degree. Masters will most often remain within the central craft hall, helping to develop their own crafts, but oftentimes, especially in the case of harpers, there will be a master and several journeymen assigned to a major hold. It's definitely way too late to change careers once you've become a master of something. Finally, there is the craftmaster. The craftmaster of any particular craft is the head honcho person for their entire craft. They are the ones who set the tone of their respective halls, how they're going to operate, which journeyman or master is assigned to which hold or weir, and they have the authority, in the case of despotism, to completely withdraw all of their journeymen or masters from a hold in order to punish the holder who is behaving objectionably. They represent the entire craft to the people of Pern, and if a craftmaster says it, that's the stance that their craft hall is taking on the matter. Of course, this doesn't mean that a particular craft is stuck with a craftmaster. Craftmasters can be dicks just like anyone else, and in the rare case when a craftmaster is no longer deemed suitable to hold their office by the majority of that hall, then they can be ousted entirely. This doesn't tend to happen, as a person doesn't get elected to the office of craftmaster by not being someone who everybody can agree on. A craftmaster is considered to be of the same social status as a lord holder or a weir leader. Craft halls are autonomous in their dealings, and it doesn't matter whose land they're on, no lord holder or weir leader owns anyone who works for the craft hall. This isn't to say that a holder is stuck with a journeyman or master. Any lord holder can elect, if they so choose, to simply decline the services of the craft hall in question, or at the very least, to send a master or journeyman back to the hall and request a replacement if they're not getting along. While the latter option is pretty common, the former option can be a major political blunder. If a lord holder turns down the services of an important craft, like a harper or a healer, then the rest of the craft halls on Pern are quite inclined to be irritated at that, and the lord holder can expect an angry craftmaster or two to be knocking on their door with a strong word or two. So that concludes this episode. Next week, I'll talk about the weirs. After that, there'll probably be one more episode with a few minor flavor details to explain certain ubiquitous Pernese foods or customs, but then after that, the primer episodes are done. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I am Alex, also known as Solinus Dracone, and this has been my Pern Primer Series Episode 6. I'm gonna go get some macaroni and cheese now. Goodbye.